Research done by Newman, Bloom, and Knobe found that people tend to see themselves as fundamentally good. Individuals were asked to identify their true self as who they really are. People pointed to moral and virtuous aspects, and even if those actions are not consistent with their actual qualities, they still a lot of times said that they did align with who they really were. This suggests that people believe their true self, who they really are, is more ethical and morally correct than they may actually be. Another research paper published in Advances in Experimental Social Psychology found that individuals who strive to be authentic report higher levels of well-being, self-esteem, and life satisfaction. Authenticity is closely linked to the experience of our true self because it involves aligning our actions, what we do, with our core values and beliefs, what we really think is correct. And a third study that was published in the Journal of Counseling found that those who scored higher on measures of authenticity were more likely to report psychological outcomes such as reduced stress and greater life satisfaction. What this suggests is that the more an individual aligns their behavior with their true self, the better their psychological health, meaning that the more honest you are with who you really are, the happier you actually are. What we perceive ourselves to be and what we actually are important not just to us, but to the people around us. We will picture ourselves to be more ethical, to be more authentic than what we may actually be. But the research suggests that being honest and being authentic with ourselves and who we really are, our core values, our beliefs, our desires, our emotions, that will bring us more satisfaction than just lying to ourselves. Let's dive into who we really are when nobody else is looking. When I wrote the script for this video, I kept imagining, looking myself in the mirror and seeing myself. And I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about myself when nobody is watching, when there's no audience, there's no work, there's no friends, there's no families, no goals, no expectations, no stress, nothing. What do I see? And honestly, life is so chaotic that we may just lose track of our true selves. We're always playing a persona, and that's just the sad fact of life. But the person that I am, that you are, that we all are, when no one is looking, that is the most honest version of yourself. And it's difficult because we are all experts at wearing masks. And I'll pause there real quick and say I understand the importance of wearing masks. It's critical. You need it. You need it to succeed. It's a sad fact. Sometimes you have to play a role. I get it. I have to do it too at work. I'm not going to be my honest self, my true self. There's moments where you have to put the mask on of being more assertive, being more empathetic, maybe being friendlier, being funnier, being more social, being less social. Whatever it is, that mask you put on, you sometimes need to do it. That mask serves a purpose because it helps us navigate these different aspects of life. But those different masks, they're a little portion of us. That disconnection between who you play when you have the mask on can maybe make you feel a bit lost or unfulfilled. You may feel like an imposter even if you have outward success. Something could just feel off. So how do we really uncover who we are? I would suggest that you practice self-reflection. I would say going back to me staring at myself in the mirror and just thinking who I really am when I was writing the script, and that's what I was imagining, is to just set time apart to just be with your thoughts, free from any distractions. You can do this through meditating, through journaling, or simply walking without your phone. And I think the goal here is to observe what your thoughts are and what your feelings are without judgment. You can maybe ask yourself some questions, right? What do I do when nobody is watching? Who really am I? What thoughts do I have that I never voice to anybody? And the goal here isn't to criticize yourself, but it's rather to understand maybe like some hidden aspects or something inside you that you don't bring out too much. And as I'm explaining this, I kind of realize that meditation is not the best example because when you meditate, you don't want to think. So I'll keep it in the video just because it's fair. You may still meditate. I think it's very crucial to meditate. But just walking outside without anything, just listening to the wind, listening to the trees, just zoning out, you think about so much stuff in 30 minutes that by the end of it, it feels amazing. You feel like not a different person, but you feel like there's a weight off your shoulder almost. My second suggestion is to pay attention to your actions in private. Your true self is revealed by the choices you make when nobody is watching, when you don't have anybody to impress. How do you treat people when you have nothing to gain from them? Are you nice to them? Do you treat them bad? Maybe you regret saying something in a certain manner, or you did something that you felt was very nice. Maybe you're indifferent about it. Maybe you don't even care. But do you hold yourself accountable for these types of actions when nobody's watching? Do you actually reflect on your decisions? Do you feel like when you're alone, you could make the right decision without having to impress somebody? You feel morally correct, ethically aligned with the tasks that you accomplish, with the things that you do where you want to be. And I feel like these moments are the most realist and rawest forms of our test to our character. So just start noticing your behavior when you're alone and ask yourself, do these ethics, do my actions, do they align with the person that I wish to be? My third tip is to seek honest feedback. Think of this like just being too close to your own personal life to kind of see yourself clearly. You can speak to maybe some trusted friends, some family members, or even mentors that can provide a different perspective than what you're giving yourself. Ask them to share respectfully and honestly how they perceive you and your actions. Be open to their feedback and use it as a mirror to reflect on areas where you might be putting up a facade. They might catch you red-handed and say, hey, that's not true, that's not... Your actions don't align with the values that you're telling me you want to express. And on that note, it also helps to receive feedback from yourself. Just be more aware of how you act and who you truly are. And you can catch yourself a lot of times. And that's something I do. I always remind myself is, okay, this type of emotion, this type of action, it doesn't align with who I want to be. So I try to work on that and just being aware of your true self and those negative values that, you don't want to be part of. It can go a long way. Another tip is to align your values with your actions. It's who you really are tied to your values. If you value honesty, do you do that? Do you live that even when it's inconvenient to you? If you value kindness, do you practice it with those who can give you nothing in return? I don't write down my core values. You could. But what I do is I read books and I highlight like phrases that I feel align very well to what I want to be. And I keep those in tabs, and that's what I think back. So I think back on rephrasing what I read. So for example, in meditations, I always tell myself I am in control of my emotions. The way that I react to this situation is just my responsibility. So I would say that, right? If you don't want to write it down what your core values are, like for me is being control of my emotions. That would be one of them, in my opinion. Then maybe you can get it off something else. Maybe you can get off a book. That helps me because there's a lot of different perceptions and different opinions when you read it from various books that I feel is a lot better than just it coming out of my brain. I don't know. That's just my way of thinking of it. But if you want to write it down, you could. I think that's still a good exercise. The goal is the same, right? And the goal is to bridge the gap between who you want to be and who you truly are. So just kind of build that baseline of how you want to act and how you want to align your values to your everyday life. And the last tip is to just accept your flaws and also your strengths. Being true to yourself and who you truly are, it doesn't mean being perfect. It means just being authentic. Accept that you have flaws and that you're not perfect. When you do this, you feel more comfortable just being on your own skin and being less reliant on those external validations that you expect from people. It's similar to business, right? That's how I always view it. But you tweak and you improve and you make the workflow better. And it's the same thing with your own life. You find areas of improvement. You create a bridging mindset where you make sure you're not leaning too much on one side. You want to be balanced. You don't want to obsess to one side or the other. You want to be more on the neutral, on the center of the bridge. And you can think of, how do I push myself more towards the center? How can I leverage my strengths? And how can I remove my weaknesses? If your weakness is being on this side of the bridge, then get a little bit more. And just remember that as you do that, you will always be a work in progress. As you lean more towards the center, you are getting better, but you're never going to be perfect. And that's okay, because you need to be authentic with yourself. You need to understand that even if you have ethics and you have morals and you have values, that you won't always align, that your actions are not always going to fit those goals of yours. And just understanding that the progress continues could go a long way to you being successful and being more authentic to yourself. But by confronting who you really are when nobody is looking, you just unlock that power, that authenticity. And oftentimes this translates to other areas of your life. It translates into your work, your relationship, and your self-esteem, because you're more comfortable and you understand who you truly are. You don't necessarily feel the need to wear masks all the time. You still have to put them on every once in a while, but maybe there will be scenarios where you would have acted differently. But with you just being true to yourself, understanding that you are authentic when nobody is looking, but also when people are looking, it can help you feel more comfortable, and it shows people who you truly are. And this is not easy. Like, this is not something that you do overnight. I think everybody works on this. We all probably hit a point in our lives where we're just kind of tired of having to conform to what other people expect, but it does require a lot of courage to take on that invisible mirror and see the face that is reflecting off it and who that person really is, who you really are. And in my opinion, the reward of life is greater fulfillment when you do this, and just inner peace. When you start aligning your actions with your true self and you stop chasing approval and you start living a life that's genuine to yours, you are happier overall. So just take a moment to ask yourself, who am I when nobody is watching? And who do I want to be? The answers that you tell yourself may surprise you, but they will set you on a path towards a more authentic and meaningful life. Thank you for watching.